With every couple who shares a household, there's important loads to carry. And the ones that are essential, we call the invisible loads because it's different than just the couple coming together and working on their issues of conflict resolution, open communication, being able to rely on each other. The load that I'm speaking of right now is the one that is, we don't see it. It's the day to day taking care of stuff. And these invisible loads can wear you out. They can overwhelm you. They can burn you out. And this is why a lot of times when women initiate divorce, we say, why? He was a good husband, like he provided, he came home every night. Our expectations are quite low in that area for the most part. But what you have to understand is if women take on the invisible loads, and many times they do, which is why I'm even mentioning this now, then they may get overwhelmed. They may lose their libido. They don't feel like they're in love. They don't think about their partner the same way. They end up feeling alone and used. So I want to talk about these three loads that are invisible because most of the time couples start their relationship and there is no mention of this, but there needs to be. And going forward, you need to institute this within your relationship, talking about it. The first one is the managerial load. Who manages the household? Who is responsible to call the plumber, call the heater, call whatever, the air, the dryer vents to be clean, making sure the kids all have what they want, in-laws and parties and just everything going on. If the house is shifting, if the foundation has problems, who is the person responsible for that? That is the manager of the house, and that is a huge load. Especially, maybe you bought an old fixer-upper, or maybe your first house has a lot of trouble and you're trying to do that in your work and the kids. If that partner feels like they don't have support from the other one, that partner will be stressed out and you'll see the effects coming into your marriage. Maybe they'll be more irritable, maybe they'll be short, maybe they'll be terse, less empathetic. These things all matter with communication between couples. The cognitive load. The cognitive load has a lot to do with the finances. Who's going to pay for what? That water bill that was so big, when is that going to get paid? How is that going to get paid? How is the electric bill going to be paid? How are we going to get our furnace checked? Make sure it doesn't burn the house down. And then it includes also taking care of the kids, remembering who needs what doctor's appointment when. And how are we going to pay for that? How about filing the insurance? All of these things. And once again, it's nice if you've divvied up the chores, if both partners are helping. The cognitive load is one that you could have one person do, as long as they had access and open communication with the other partner to fill in on some of these things. However, there has to be one person managing it. Usually, it's very difficult unless you divvy up these chores at the top and say, okay, you'll be responsible for water, I'll be responsible for electric, or whatever it is. You'll be responsible for the kids' dentist appointments, or I'll be responsible for this part. Those things can happen, but they won't happen unless it's brought up, unless it's seen as a really taxing household event. And the third load that is oftentimes invisible, and this one is especially heated, is the emotional load. The emotional load is who is the person most responsible for creating peace in the home, harmony, happiness with the kids. Like, who's going to plan the events? Who's going to take care of birthday parties? Who's making sure that if Tommy got, insulted yesterday, that you talk to him at night, what he's going through, what Karen's going through with her issues at school, or what Chelsea needs with her teacher who's not being very nice to her. Who's keeping track of all that? Who has all the kids' activities, all the kids' dates? what they're doing for play date or mom's day out or whatever is going on. And what about the two of you? Are you planning an in-law's birthday? What about, your vacations? Who's planning those? Who's managing those? Who's taking care of the feelings? And at the end of the day, who's taking care of the person who's feeling and taking care of everybody's feelings? Who's taking care of that person? Because that is essential. You can't have one person doing all of this and feeling like it's their job, their responsibility, and then not have time for them to take care of themselves. You'll have one angry, resentful spouse or partner, and you won't know where it comes from. So it's very important that you talk about this. If I were your therapist and I were working with you, this is what I would talk to you about now. The first thing, you have to openly address it. You just have to. You have to sit down together and say, hey, listen, I just feel like I'm eaten up in this. I don't, and try as much as you can to define which invisible load is taxing you the most, or is it a combination of all of them? Very important. The more you can figure out what it is that you can deal with it, and then list and delegate responsibilities equally. This is, and I mean, both spouses have to step up here. You have to step up. You have to want to help. You can no longer sit back and go, well, wait a minute, you're home all day, and that means you do it. Because the person who's home all day, this is more than a full-time job. This is a job that two spouses, two partners need to do. And even if one partner says, listen, I'll take the majority, but I need you to do this part, that's okay too, as long as the two of you are negotiating it and talking about it and willing to help. Be mindful and proactive. When you see your spouse is going through a lot, maybe they have things coming up that they're worried about, take over for them. Realize, okay, this is a rough time for them. They're nervous about this. I'll take over and step up and do your part. It's going to mean a lot to them. And basically, if you're part of this relationship, this is part of your commitment. You should want to do this, not just for them, but because you're an honest, good partner who is willing to step in and help, and you want to be part of this. Check in regularly with each other. If you see your partner is really struggling or went through a bad period, or maybe the two of you sit down and you're starting out a new plan, check in. Just because they don't say anything doesn't mean you're off the hook. Check in with them and ask, hey, how are we doing? Is this better? Do you feel good about this? Am I doing enough? Or do I need to do more? Questions like that are going to make you closer. It's going to make your partner feel more loved, more desire for you. And these are really good things. And overall, I think the most important thing is that nobody be a martyr. People have got to speak up. Don't play passive aggressive games where you basically do something as a form of expression of your anger. Be honest. If you start feeling angry and resentful, tell your partner, it's time. I need help. I'm starting to feel resentful, like I don't recognize myself because I'm so overwhelmed with all this stuff. If this video is helpful for you, please subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much.